Hi and thanks for joining me today. Today I am showing you the new Lawn Fawn Magic Picture Changer. So Lawn Fawn have created this die, which I'm going to be using with this stamp set. Now Lawn Fawn do have different stamp sets that you can use for the Magic Picture Changer, and these are two examples I have here. I'm not sure if they do anymore. I had a feeling that I bought what they had available at the time that I got the Magic Picture Changer. This is an add-on die that I will also be using today. So to start with, I am stamping out these two dog images from My Favourite Things Super Dog stamp set. Now when you're stamping these, you need to make sure that you're leaving plenty of space around the images, because once the images have been stamped and coloured, you will be die cutting using the Magic Picture Changer directly over them. Now for today I'm just doing some quick and simple Copic colouring. So I'm colouring in the dog using E23 as my lightest shade. Once I have completely coloured him in, I'll be going in with an E37. Now as I said in my previous video, I have never been to a Copic class in my life. I would love to, but unfortunately they don't do them here. And I need to see online if I can do an online course in it. But I have literally just learnt by watching other crafters online. The way that I choose my colours generally is, what do I fancy using today and what colours do I think will work, and have a little test run of them. But there are some amazing Copic colourers out there. One of them that leaps to mind is Sandy Allnock. I know that she does a Copic colouring chart if you're interested in looking at that. She has one up for purchase, and those show really nice Copic colour combinations to work with. So anyway, I have now gone in with my E37 and I am blending that out with an E15, which is my medium shade, and I'll be going in again with the E23. I'm playing with different techniques of Copic colouring recently. I just want to see what works best for me, and I might be loading a new video soon of a different way of colouring than I usually do, which is what I'm showing you today. Sorry about my voice, I've been running on my treadmill today, so it's been quite an active day, so my voice is going a bit. Anyway, once I'm happy with the blending for my dog, I then am moving on to his little t-shirt, which I'm going to be colouring in blues. So I'm going to be using B32, B06 and B05. Again, I don't think this is a typical combination, but this is a combination that I actually really like, because I love this very pale blue that I'm using right now. So as always, I just fully colour the image in and then go around looking for areas that I feel should be shaded. So for today, I'm colouring underneath the neck, around the cape, down the side and around his belt, and I'm using my darkest shade there, which is the B06. And then I'm taking my B05 and blending that one out. This does, because of the fact that the B32 is such a light colour, it is quite hard to blend this one out. It does take a little bit more effort, but I think it's worth it in the end for the results that you get. Now once that is coloured in, then I'm moving on to my little Super Dog's cape, and I'm using R32, which has to be my all-time favourite red colour. Anything you see that is red on my channel, on my Instagram or anything, is always using R24. So I'm colouring that in, and then I'm going to be going in with R39, which is an extremely dark shade. So I'm only putting quite a small amount of that down because, as I said, it is very dark. And then I'm going in with R46 to blend that out, and going over it once again with the R24. Once the cape is finished, I am then going to be colouring in the little dog's mask and his belt, and I decided that, it being a superhero dog, yellow, blue and red were ideal colours. So I'm going in with Y06 as my base colour. My darkest shade is the YR23. Now, I do not have a massive variety of yellows in my Copic collection. I need to get some more, so I am being extremely light-handed, just adding a tiny bit around the mask. And then I'm going in with some Y13 here to try and blend that out. And going back over it with the Y06. Now I wanted to add some blush to the little dog's cheek, so I'm using the R20, and as the dog was so dark, I had to go over it a couple of times to get that blush to show. For the belt, I just left it extremely simple. I went in with the Y06 and then the YR23. Now, I had coloured the second dog off screen. I don't particularly like colouring on screen because I like being over my image as I'm colouring in. I find it quite hard when I'm recording. But anyways, moving on to the picture changer. Now, here what I'm doing is just drawing around the edges of the picture changer so I know where I can colour in my background. I'm doing the same thing with the second image too. So I'm just using a very pale blue here, which is my BG11, doing absolutely nothing fancy, and then I'm adding a bit of grass underneath the dog standing up. Now, you don't need to be too careful about this, because once the picture changer is put together, you're not going to see if you've gone out of the lines or whatever, so I wouldn't worry. So here, what you have to do is line up the largest of the two dies. That is going to be your front image, and line it up with your image. And then do the same thing for the second die. This is the add-on piece. This is just cutting out a nice frame for me here, and a pull tab. You do get a frame and a pull tab in the original packaging. So as you can see, it's cut out all of these slots. Now, I normally wouldn't do a video on something that has only been in my craft stash for a short period of time. I've had this for about a month now, but I have to say that I think this is one of the most genius dies I have seen. It is so easy to use, so easy to line up, and it is just so much fun. I had to make a video about this. Anyway, what you do is you slot in the second image behind the first image, and you have that tab that sticks out. Just slot it through the hole, and then you line up the two images and feed the edges of the first picture into the second picture. It is really just that simple. Once it's all lined up, you won't be able to tell that, you know, there's a picture behind it. And then you can just secure it in place with the actual die cut out itself. Now, as you can see here, you get two little tabs on the side, and the back then folds over. You have to make sure at this point that you do fold these and score these down really, really well, these scored edges, because this is what will hold your image in place. Now, Lawn Fawn recommend putting 1/8 of an inch score tape underneath the tabs and on top of the tabs. Now, I didn't do that in this video, and it still worked fine for me, but this is what will create a frame basically to hold your image in place. So make sure that you score it really, really well, which I'm just going over it with a bone folder here. And that will allow your image to move. Now, as you can see, I'm going in with my 1/8 of an inch score tape. I'm just running it over that one edge. Like I said, Lawn Fawn do recommend doing it on both sides, just to hold the frame in place. So once I've got that positioned where I wanted it to be, I can remove the backing paper and fold together my magic picture changer. And there it is. Now you can see the mess around the edges. This is where we're going to be adding a frame, so there's absolutely nothing to worry about. And the mechanism is really that easy to put together. It's fantastic. Now I wanted to add a bit of interest to my red frame. So I'm using the words pow, woof and grr from the stamp set and some VersaFine black onyx ink. And I'm just stamping that in place, just randomly around the frame. Once I was happy with that, I then decided that I wanted to add some lightning bolts to it as well, but I wanted to heat emboss them. So I'm using some Versamark ink, but first making sure to go over it with my embossing buddy, as to not have any embossing powder all over the place, although that did happen. I'm just adding them randomly around the frame, and then I'm going in with some Ranger Gold embossing powder. Now unfortunately I didn't wait to allow the VersaFine ink to set up, and I didn't heat emboss it, which was heat set it, which was a bit of a mistake. So I did end up with gold embossing powder in places where I didn't want it. Just a tip, that VersaFine black onyx ink is fantastic to use as an embossing ink, because it remains wet long enough that you can pour embossing powder over it and it will hold it in place until you heat set it. I'm just taking my heat tool to those lightning bolts and setting the embossing powder in place. And then it comes time to adhere my frame to my card front. Now there is a tab that I'm trying to show you here. There is a little tab which allows you to line it up really, really easily. Now once that's all lined up and in place, you can't see any of the mess that is left behind. And there it is working. It really is that simple. Now I decided, as Lawn Fawn always add stitched edgings to all of their dies, I wanted to make sure that my background piece was matching. So I cut a rectangle using my Lawn Fawn stitch rectangles that would cover my entire card front. And now I'm just adding on my pull tab piece. I just popped the letters out of that and wanted to add the centre of the P back in. So I'm using a little bit of my matte multi-medium by Ranger, which is a super strong glue. I'm popping the centre of the P in place. Now all I have to do is adhere this to my front panel. So I'm using some foam tape to make sure that people can get their fingers underneath the pull tab part. And I'm just using some inexpensive foam tape that I've bought here in Doha. And putting that into the centre of my panel. And you could leave it there if you like, but I just wanted to add a sentiment, and sentiments from this Super Dog set are so much fun, but I thought it'd be really cute to add "Never fear, your birthday's here." So I'm also stamping that in VersaFine black onyx ink. And then I just needed to adhere the panel to a top folding note card. I don't know why recently I've been doing everything in top folding note cards. But anyway, the measurements for that are 4 1/4 by 11 and scored at 5 1/2 for a top folding note card. And it really is as easy as that. So there you go. Thank you so much for joining me again this week, and I look forward to making another card for you next week. Till then, take care. Thank you. Bye.